Good evening, everybody. It's Ken Iverson back in Kent, Washington, USA. I just got back from a city council meeting here in the city of Kent. They have every first Tuesday and every third Tuesday they have a city council meeting made up of the council members and the city attorney and the city administrator and the mayor. And it's a seven-man council, seven-person council. Tonight, one of the council members was not present, Elizabeth Albertson, and also one of the administrator, the city administrator, was not there also. I don't know where they were tonight. So anyway, I'll talk more about that because I spoke in my 3 minutes, my three allotted minutes. I asked for more because I was the only one, and they said no way, and they timed me, and I went over maybe 10 or 15 seconds. But I talked about the mosque in New York City at Ground Zero, and I also talked about Peace Day, and I talked about the First Amendment to the Bill of Rights, to the Constitution. There was also a woman from DAR who was there. Daughters of the American Revolution, and they were celebrating the Constitution, and I thought it was apt to bring up the Constitution this evening, the First Amendment, the freedom of religion, speech, whatever. So anyway, we'll get to that later. I want to continue what I was doing in the last segment on Maurice Clemmons. It occurs to me that I didn't detail in enough his mental state, his mental illness. I said that he thought he was Jesus, and I just sort of assumed that would be enough for people, but it may not be. So let me look at some of the reports that were issued on him recently in the state of Washington here. So this is a quote, and it says. This is from wherever it's from, posted in Maurice Clemmons via whatever here. Okay, let's see. This is a quote. "I'll kill all you bitches," Maurice Clemmons told the Pierce County jail workers who were trying to book him, according to court records. That sounds like an angry man to me. An angry man. I don't know if that's a murderer or not, but that's an angry, angry man. It was May 9th, 2009. Clemmons, 37, had been arrested after punching a sheriff's deputy in the face. He was charged. Let's get back here so you can see my face. He was charged with multiple counts of third-degree assault and malicious mischief, and later second-degree child rape. Clemmons, the prime suspect in the Sunday slayings of 4 Lakewood police officers, received a court-ordered mental health evaluation tied to the charges filed in May. The evaluation obtained by the News Tribune, that's the Tacoma News Tribune, was completed, Tacoma is south of here, south of Kent, south of Seattle, was completed October 19th, 5 weeks before the shootings. It was one of the factors considered by Thomas Fellnagel, the Superior Court judge who set bail for Clemmons at $150,000. County prosecutors say the number was unusually high given the underlying charges. The reported threat to kill jail workers appeared in the evaluation, along with notes describing hallucinations. Clemmons said he had them back in May before his arrest. One of the symptoms of schizophrenia are hallucinations. There are auditory hallucinations and there are visual hallucinations. It doesn't say here, but I'm assuming these are visual hallucinations. He could have also had auditory hallucinations, commonly referred to as hearing voices. He remembered seeing people drinking blood, this is in quotes, people drinking blood and people eating babies, and lawless on the streets like people were cannibals. These visions had passed, he said. 2 psychologists from Western State Hospital, Melissa Denilette and Carl Redlick, concluded Clemmons was dangerous. He presents with increased risk for future dangerous behavior and for committing future criminal acts jeopardizing public safety and security, the evaluation states. Those risk factors included previous violence, this is in quotes, previous violence, young age at first violent incident, relationship instability, and prior supervision failure, Danilet and Redlick wrote. And then it says here, and I'm not going to go into this. I don't want to go into the criminal part of it and the events leading up to the shootings. I want to talk about his mental state, and we'll leave it at that. I'm contending that he was mentally ill, and if that sounds to you like he was not mentally ill, then we have a different definition of what constitutes mental illness. That sounds to me people drinking blood and people eating babies and lawless on the streets like people were cannibals. Does that sound like someone who is mentally healthy? Doesn't to me. Okay. He presents with increased risk for. It sounds like these two psychologists from Western State Hospital. That's in Steilacoom, I believe. My mother worked at Western State Hospital when she was a nurse back in the 1940s. She did a stint at Western. She's 90 years old now. I talked about her in other videos that I've recorded, and she worked at Western, and she came home and she told me some of the things that she saw there. I won't go into that, but it was pretty for a kid. That was hard to hear what she had to say. He presents with increased risk for future dangerous behavior and for committing future criminal acts jeopardizing public safety and security, the evaluation states. The risk factors included previous violence, young age at first violent incident, relationship instability, and prior supervision. I submit all of those things that are exacerbated when you're mentally ill. Relationship instability, we talked about that. Maybe beating on your mate, male to female or female to male. I don't know if it was in his case or not. I'm not going to say. But at a young age, it sounds like he may have been mentally ill at a very young age. I don't know. I haven't seen the court records, and I don't even want to go into them because my mind is focusing on his state in recent times, and I'm sure that he had hallucinations before, and I would guess that he had hallucinations before, and that Maurice Clemmons was a very I don't want to use the word sick because when you call people sick, that's like calling them names. He was mentally ill, and I don't think there's any other way of looking at it. So let's leave Maurice Clemmons for the time being and get on to other things because we got other things to talk about. I mentioned in the previous segment, the 15-minute segment, that I mentioned the Gerald Galt case, and I had that wrong. I had part of it wrong anyway. He was the gist of the Gerald Galt case was that he was treated. He was not given his constitutional rights, and the attorneys for Gerald Galt claimed that he should have been given the right to. Let's see what we have here. The due process rights as adults, such as the right to timely notification of charges, the right to confront witnesses, the right against self-incrimination, and the right to counsel. The court's opinion was written by Justice Abe Fortas, a noted proponent of children's rights. In Galt, in regarding Galt, 387 U.S. 1, 1967, remember I said it was 1967, was a landmark U.S. Supreme Court decision which established that under the 14th Amendment, juveniles accused of crimes in a delinquency proceeding must be accorded many of the same due process rights as adults. Well, that's the rights that they're accorded. they have to be accorded the rights of adults, and he was not. And this was, like I said, a landmark decision, and Abe Fortas gave the decision. This sounds like, I'm just looking at the associate justices. The Chief Justice at that time was Earl Warren, who is known as a reformer. When they talk about making making law from the bench, they talk about Earl Warren, and people don't like that these days, but he did a lot of good things, I think. Hugo Black, this reads like an all-star in the Supreme Court. Hugo Black, William O. Douglas, Tom C. Clark, John M. Harlan II, William J. Brennan Jr., Potter Stewart, Byron White, Whizzer White. He was a football player, I believe, at Texas or Oklahoma or someplace like that. And finally, Abe Fortas. Those were the giants who were on the court at that time. I don't know that we have those people. Well, I won't say anything. Let's see. I have looked into the debate whether juveniles should be treated as adults, and there is a debate. Of course, there's a debate. It's one here. One opinion, February 18th, 2010. Kids should never be treated as adults. There are common sense reasons to keep Jordan this is a kid named Jordan. There are common sense reasons to keep Jordan in the juvenile system. Ask any parents and blah, blah, blah. All but 5 states allow children of any age charged with murder to be tried as adults. The death penalty generally isn't an option, at least not blah, blah, blah. Should teenagers who committed serious crimes be tried as juveniles or adults? What happens to young offenders who reach the end of the line in the juvenile justice system? And sometimes, I saw this the other night on MSNBC, they were talking about Corcoran in California, a maximum security prison. And one young man, can't remember his name now, he turned 18, and he could have been incarcerated with the adults. He had a taste of it. He was temporarily incarcerated as an adult when he was 17 or so, and he found out that was not nice, and he begged practically for to be let go, and he was given. He sounded like a young man who had learned his lesson. I don't know what happened to him after that, but he learned his lesson. I can't remember this segment. It was really outstanding. Let's see, how are we doing on time? We got about a minute here. It was really outstanding on the Corcoran of the maximum security, and there the cat and mouse game I talked about before between contraband, the jailers, and contraband, and the inmates with drugs, contraband. Went on and on and on. And as I said before, I think that all drugs should be legalized and would do away with that cat and mouse game in the prisons. We'd just eliminate that entirely. So anyway, as far as adults and juveniles, we'll leave that for another day. That's a question that I don't want to get into now. But there is a lot of controversy on that, and it goes back and forth. Sometimes adults or juveniles are treated as adults, and sometimes that was not treated as adults, but given the same rights as adults. And I think that's, everybody has constitutional rights, and that shouldn't depend on your age. That should be accorded to everybody, a constitutional right. So we're getting up here on time now, so we're going to end this pretty soon, and we'll get on to what I wanted to talk about, the city council meeting tonight, and Ground Zero, and what's his name, Terry Jones. We'll discuss that. We'll discuss that in quite a bit of detail. So we're running up here. We got 1, 2, 53, 54, 55, 56. Goodbye from Kent, Washington. This is Ken Iverson. Goodbye.